Hi, listener. Thank you for tuning in. This episode's guest is a powerful example of what it looks like to age with intention, confidence, and joy. Robin Kencel is 67, a founding real estate broker at Compass in Greenwich, Connecticut, and ranked in the top 1.5% of agents nationwide. But that's just one chapter of her story. Robin is also the reigning Ms. Connecticut Senior America, a United States Pro-Am ballroom champion, and a passionate advocate for empowered aging. Through her work, Robin invites women to see aging not as a narrowing of possibility, but as an expansion, one rooted in purpose, emotional strength, meaningful relationships, and self-trust. I'm so excited for you to hear how her lived experiences shaped the impact she's making today. Are you ready to glow? I know I am. Welcome to Don't Be Caged by Your Age, Robin. I'm so happy you're here to share your insights and wisdom to help folks thrive after 65.
Thank you, Ande. I love being here and I love your enthusiasm. You're clearly thriving right there.
Absolutely. 69 and feeling mighty fine, right, listener? So, Robin, we are all about aging out loud and proud here on the podcast, and I know you are too. I've seen your videos and your interviews. You are always out there. Please let folks know your age and where you live.
I'm 67 years old and I'm in the middle of a transition. Literally 6 weeks ago, we became residents in Florida. And so we still have our place in Connecticut, but yeah, I'm loving the sun. Ande, I'm shocked at how much I'm loving it. But it's a huge transformation and a huge transition.
Well, especially this time of year, because this time of year up here, of course, we're all freezing our butts off.
Yeah.
And it has that whole different feel for the holidays, right? So that transition of warm and palm trees and the wonderful breeze and being able to walk around without 5 million layers on. It's got to be wonderful.
I have to say I'm loving that piece of it. I don't have my Christmas tree up here, so it feels a little odd. But you know what, Ande? It's really making me able to concentrate more importantly on the meaning of the season.
That's right. So, Robin, when you look back across the landscape of your life, what lived experiences, the challenges, the pivots, the joys, do you see now as preparing you for your remarkable work around aging with purpose today? And listener, I always love the fact that at this age, we can look back and go, oh my gosh, look at all those dots connecting and how it's all prepared me. It's just the beauty of aging. So Robin, share your story.
I would say that I have so many experiences, as we all do. I feel like it's a pearl necklace and we just keep adding the pearls. But I wouldn't say there's absolutely one or two experiences that have brought me to this point of being an advocate, an encourager, and cheerleader for aging with purpose. What I would say is there's probably 3 key themes that ran through all of my experiences and continue to. And the first one is being an active listener. And, anybody who has children, of course, knows that you've got to really hear before you respond. I have had 5 different careers in my life, 5 major different careers, and all of them had some element of mentoring. And again, really listening to and looking at who the person is in front of me that is my colleague, but also that I'm their manager, made me look at how they learn, who they are, what their strengths and their gifts are. And then 5 years ago, I became a spiritual director in the Catholic tradition. And that is very much about walking alongside someone who wants to get closer to God. And again, listening, because I'm not giving my opinion. This is not therapy. This is noticing, helping someone notice what is in their life and giving it back. So all of these experiences have helped me be a good active listener, which in aging with purpose and thinking about our next chapter, I'm really listening to all the people around me and then asking them questions to help them in their journey.
Right. And
another one is I was fortunate because I had a parent, 2 parents and a grandfather who helped me realize at a young age that it's fine to fail. My parents and grandfather owned a nursing home, and I would go in and work with arts and crafts with the patients. worked in the kitchen, worked in really almost every area except for nursing. And there was always not like, here's how you're going to interact, but here's a car model kit. Can you go to Mr. Jones and make a model? So there was empowerment really of me in freedom to allow me to experiment with how I was going to work with Mr. Jones. And that continued throughout my life. When I was in college, I was tapped to head what would become the largest 5K running race at the time. I had no idea how to do anything but run. But again, I was given the freedom to figure out everything from inviting pro runners to what we were serving to those tired folks at the finish line. And given these opportunities to take responsibility, but along with it, freedom to do it the way I wanted to, empowered me, helped me start recognizing what are my gifts, and gave me a fear of not failing, because if something didn't work in how I was going about the road race, for example, I'd try something else. And I think these are all traits that are really important as we age, because hopefully we're not curled up on the sofa watching a lot of other people living life. We're saying, oh, let me try something new. And I'm a huge advocate of trying something new. Last year, I broke my foot, so I could not dance for 14 weeks. I thought about, what have I always wanted to do that I never did? Acting came to my mind. And so I'm now really working on my improvisational acting skills. Now, talk about fear. You're literally thrown off a cliff, Andy. You're given a word and a scene partner, and you just go and see what comes to your mind. And so, again, not failing, who cares?
Right. Failing is learning. And the one thing you kept saying every time, Robin, was, yes, I'll do it. And there's that famous Tina Fey quote that says, say yes, and you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's what you've been able to do. And having that ability to walk with fear and the ability to say, yeah, I'm going to make mistakes. This is not going to be perfect. Being comfortable with being uncomfortable. These are a lot of limitations that hinder people at every age. And so the fact that you have not only walked through all of these circumstances with the ability to move forward in spite of not knowing, that's representation. And it's so wonderful. And how you're working in the world today is that you're able to then show people it's okay. It's okay to make those mistakes. I was clueless, figured it out, because really, and from working with all the people you've worked with, that it's that fear of making a mistake and being judged and laughed at by people for not being, quote, perfect. And the reality is that people are too busy judging themselves to be judging you, really. But I love that. And you've mentioned it several times, aging with purpose. Let's talk about that. What does aging with purpose look like for you? And how can someone in their 60s or 70s begin uncovering that purpose, especially if they are feeling stuck or disconnected? Sometimes folks over-identify with what they did for so many years, and then they find themselves identifying with what they should be doing, the indoctrinated messaging that we get. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts around aging with purpose.
Yeah. And, it's aging with purpose, but it's also living with purpose. I mean, it would be really wonderful if we were doing this all our life, but a lot of our life, we're just living life at a very fast pace with lots of responsibilities. And for many of us, as we are in the second half of our lives, maybe have less day-to-day or moment-to-moment responsibilities where we could live a little bit more. So here's what purpose means to me. It means living with intention. And for me, it goes back to what is the deepest thing? Because I think you've got to start with the biggest thing. I get a little nervous when I hear much talk about believe in yourself and it's all about you and that sort of mindset. I go to what's bigger than me. That's the purpose I want to live in. And again, for me, I first connect that to God. Now, other people may call it the divine, Mickey Mouse. I don't really care what you call it, but it's taking the time and looking honestly inside to say, what are my values? Am I living these values? and how can I live more into them? And there's a lot of components to that, starting with the practical of, let's see how I'm spending my day. Am I doing things that are maybe like that quick little piece of chocolate, an instant quick gratification, but are they helping me move towards my purpose? And my personal purpose is just two words, pleasing God. And so everything I do, I really, Andy, at the end of the day, have to ask myself, all right, in my day today, did I do something that served a better purpose, a higher purpose,
Right.
something other than my own satisfaction?
Yeah, I mean, when folks get out of their own way and allow not the ego to move them forward, not the quote law of attraction to move them forward, and allow their higher self, their divine purpose, divinity, God, whatever you want to call it, frontal lobe of your brain,
Yeah.
you're here to make the world a better place through your glow. And by stepping back and allowing ideas to bubble up.
I would say to your listeners, think about what you love and start there. And the other thing is, while you're thinking, it's really nice if you can think around something that would involve different ages. I just
Right.
love my dance community and my improv acting community because it's highly populated by 30 something year olds and 20 something year olds. And they are really fun. They see the world differently. They're not talking about where they're going to dinner or what the grandkids are doing. They're just having fun. Andy, it's made me, I think, be a lot more lighthearted.
It's so delicious. I can't begin to tell you. And also, it's so empowering and it's powerful and reciprocity is there. But listen, I want you to know there are younger generations going through things that their peers cannot understand. So by you showing up in their lives with your lived experiences, you've been through the tragedies, you've had to figure out loss of money, health, all the things, babies, businesses. And so someone in their 20s and 30s, they might turn to a peer for understanding. The peer's like, say what? Let's go out to the bar. But an older adult is going to say, oh, I understand. We have a lot more empathy to share. And meanwhile, we're learning from them what life is like at that stage, given their circumstances. It's a beautiful exchange, right, Robin?
Andy, I'm so amen to that. I'm so happy you brought that up. Before I go on any television segment or a podcast, I actually work with my acting coach, and he always brings in some fabulous 30 something year old or 20 something year old, and we kind of role play it. And I was doing that last week, and the 28-year-old sent me a little note afterwards, a text, and he said, I was really moved by what you talked about today, and I want you to know it made a difference to me, and I'm going to think about that. And that speaks to what you're saying. Like, we don't even think about how we might be helping that younger generation, and that we carry all this wisdom and experience that could actually, help them in a very different world than we had. And so those experiences and wisdom are
Right.
going to bring an element they can't manufacture or grab from today.
No, and to know that someone else has walked a similar path. Uh, Brene Brown talks about the difference between empathy and sympathy, right? You know, we can actually hold their hands. We may not be going through the same dark place that they are, but we've been in a dark place. We know how to bring the light back in and hold someone's hand while they're walking through that. And I love that. And listener, and I know, Robin, you agree with this too. Don't be afraid to be the oldest person in the room. You will be blown away by how treasured you are. You're hanging out with younger folks. Has that been your experience, Robin?
Yes. And Andy, I think what you're hitting on here is something that I focus a lot on, and that is your mindset. Mindset is number one, free. Number two, you can control it. There's very little you can control in life. And I know they probably all can relate to what I find. Every morning I wake up and I say, what, body? I didn't know, that was going to hurt today. And so you can control yourself, your mindset, your attitude.
And you talk about the 5 pillars of aging well.
So
Okay.
here's the way I look at it. I think visually, I think in pictures. And so for me, my 5 pillars at the center is spirituality. Now, it's going to be different for every person. Mine happens to be the core there and everything comes out. But you can't sit in a corner and just think these thoughts and pray these prayers all day. You're out in the world. And so, the other pillars around it will make sure that I'm feeling as well as possible. So they're not a distraction. So let's start with the physical body. And that's moving. Let's not even say fitness, moving. If you're someone who has not been a natural, regular mover in your life, I love James Clear and his Atomic Habits. Start teeny tiny small.
Right.
Just walk. I'm not kidding. 5 minutes to the mailbox and then maybe down the street a little and back. So start small. Your body's going to thank you and you're going to feel better because it's releasing those endorphins. So
yes.
fitness, nutrition.
And can I just pop in while you're talking about that? As Sean Zetlin always says, exercise is a privilege, not a chore. Moving your body is a privilege, not a chore. Just wanted to throw that out.
Yeah, I love that. This weekend I was interviewing Marilyn Murray Willison, who was the health and fitness editor for the LA Times. Health and fitness, that was her world, and a celebrity interviewer. And she contracted MS at 35 years old. And and now she can only move one arm. And she says the same thing. She doesn't say, poor me, I'm in this hospital bed. She says, thank goodness I still have one arm that I can raise my glass of water to my own lips. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
And listener, you may remember the interview with the woman who lost her sight in her 50s. And after she adjusted, she said, okay, God used me without my sight. And she puts on she's 71 now, Robin. She puts on those Ray-Ban video glasses and she stands in front of a mirror and she gives inspirational sound bites to people. Imagine the courage. So thank you for landing on the physical. Let's talk about the nutrition, the number 2. Thank you.
Yeah. So again, nutrition. Well, okay. May I confess that when I was in high school, and I was a dancer. I literally lived on packages of chocolate chip cookies and vanilla milkshakes for my lunch and then went through the rest of my day and danced. You cannot do that when you're older. We know that. And I have also really changed my perception of my body that, again, it's a gift to me. And so I really think about food now as fuel. And I look at I read labels. If I can't pronounce a word, it's not going in my mouth. If it's white, it doesn't really have a great chance in my life. Not that I don't. Someone recently said, do you have cheat days? Cheat days. I mean, of course, I'm going to still live. Yeah, but I can still make good choices instead of the potato chips that are fried. I can have baked potato chips. So I would just say, let's start taking a look at our nutrition and make sure it's fueling us, because as we get older, we really need to give our body every bit of help it can take.
You got to leverage what's out there. I know for me, what's been a game changer, and my son got me into this, is a really good, healthy, clean, high protein powder. One that doesn't have because some of them have some like practically strychnine in them. You have to be real careful when you do your research. But I mix that with some non-fat yogurt. It's so delicious. And I get 25 grams of protein. And honestly, so if you're lifting weights and doing things like that, but more than that, Robin, I have seen a real increase in my energy level and my ability just to feel strong and my immune system strong. So I love that idea of really thinking about what you're putting in your mouth.
And I will share a tip. So on my Instagram at Robin Kencel, you'll see one video here where you're seeing my morning smoothie, which is based on Dr. Mark Hyman's smoothie. I do a lot of research and I took his as a base. I mean, the, be end and end all of functional medicine. And then I did a deep dive into protein powders. And I would encourage your listeners to look at a pumpkin protein, which is good for a whole lot of reasons. And I'll be putting the full smoothie on there soon. But yes, I love smoothies. They're just packed full of ingredients.
Right.
And if you put a little MCT oil in them, it really holds you. And it's so great for your brain health. The
Right.
two other elements in my first physical are preventive maintenance. There's a lot we can be doing to make sure we don't slip into some illness and, working alongside a doctor. And then if something's not feeling right, get to the appropriate doctor. It seems so obvious, but I'm sure there's people listening to this that have something going on that are waiting for it to just see what happens. Don't wait to see what happens.
That is so smart. Episode 80, everybody, is a solo episode with me talking about the annual physical. When you turn 65, no insurance company pays for an annual physical, period. End of story. It's called a wellness visit. Even, I've got all this, I've got MedX as my backup to Medicare. Nope, don't pay for that. So I provided a list for all of you of what you need to be asking for screenings, for baseline, testing, all the things. And when you go in with that, and you can ask your doctor, they're going to give you everything you want. They'll say yes to all the testing. Your insurance will cover all the testing, but nobody's going to, wait a minute. I'm not going to say nobody. Some of you will have a great general practitioner who's going to treat you like you were 45. But for many folks, they're just like, yeah, okay, that's just aging. So I love that you brought that up, Robin.
And let me give a tip there, but also let me share a feeling which you probably can relate to. One is, I write everything down in advance because when you get there, you could forget. So just bring your list. And secondly, let me acknowledge right now I have something going on with my eyes. I can't make tears because my glands are clogged. And I got to the eye doctor after, 3 months of one of my children saying, you have pink eye again. No, I don't have pink eye. My glands aren't flowing. And, I said to the eye doctor, I used to love coming to doctors. Now I'm sitting here and I'm sure my heart's going up. So yes, just acknowledge that this is not fun. They're going to find something probably, but try to trick your mind and keep that old positive mindset or just have fun with the doctor and I'll just make it a little more pleasurable.
Right. And practice some radical self-love because you're like, say what? Now what?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the physical. And then the next pillar is, the two components of emotional health and mental health. And I would say here is, look, we're older now. We have collected relationships that are not the best relationships. If you're like me, sometimes I don't even recognize that it's a difficult relationship as it is until I finally allow myself to step away from it. But I would say one of the great things of getting older is many of these relationships you actually don't have to have anymore.
Right.
And so, look at them and say a very kind bye-bye to those that are not helping you grow in your own way or making you feel good about yourself even. And then that space allows you to fill in with the new people you're meeting. Go back and see what Andy and I talked about a few minutes ago. So that's one piece. And then the other piece is, look, there are relationships that are going to be in our lives that are a little challenging. And what I would say to that is I have just pumped up the prayer for me or whatever is your go-to, but also throughout my life, I don't hesitate to run, not walk, run to a therapist when there's a difficult relationship or problem that I'm thinking too much about. And hey, why should I know how to solve this and get out of the way I'm thinking about it? I'm not a professional. So don't take away the stigma. Just get there. And if money's a thing, I promise you, your local United Way, your local Department of Aging, there's going to be resources.
There's plenty of therapists out there, folks, that take Medicare. Plenty. And
Right.
so there's a whole list for your area. Go ahead and look it up. Have someone help you. And it's never too late to process some of those relationships that you wish you'd had processed 10 or 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago that weren't as healthy. It might still be lingering in there, need to have a little love and forgiveness on as well so that they don't tie you down because we only have so many minutes left, so many days left, so many moments left, and we want to spend it even more intentionally. So that's what I love what you're saying there, Robin. Thank you for that.
Yeah. And I'll just give a little visual that I was thinking about just this week that maybe stay with people. 'Cause I don't know. Sometimes I remember pictures or stories more than words. And I was thinking, when a baby's born, I mean, we have a new grandchild and I'm just noticing how much awe and wonder. Everything's just such a fabulous moment in his life. And I was thinking, well, that's because the backpack on his back is empty right now. So he's not looking down. He's looking up and seeing all the amazing things. But as we go through life, let's just stick with the emotional. Somebody says something that hurts us, throw it in the backpack. Somebody doesn't invite us to something, they hurt our feelings, throw it in the backpack. By the time we're at this age, our backpack's so heavy that we're hunched over looking at the ground, which doesn't have anything beautiful in it. So, hey, let's start taking these things out of our backpack. Let's look at them. I mean, you have to be brave. You have to take the time and be reflective and honest and say, what is it? Guess what? It doesn't matter whose fault it was. Just forgive and throw it out of the backpack. And before you know it, you're going to be looking up at the sky again saying, holy cow, there's a lot of stars up there. Wow, it's such a beautiful blue today.
One of my favorite, I love that, Robin, something fierce. One of my favorite sayings to begin my day is, ooh, I wonder what magical moments are going to happen today.
Maybe. So I'd love to hear your opinion on this. You know how some people say, put the intention out there and it'll come to you. Like some people say, I'm going to say every morning, good things are going to happen to me or whatever. It's like calling in on the universe. I'm curious to hear your thought on that. My only thought is, listen, I was in real estate for 22 years. Oh my gosh. It's like the Wild West. And when you're working in the luxury market, I can't tell you how difficult some of the personalities are. Some are amazing, but some are difficult. I used to say to my team before a particularly difficult client, it's going to be a great day. And it was almost like I'm willing it into being, but it was also saying to them, no matter what a jerk they're going to be, it's going to be a great day for us because we're going to learn something.
Absolutely. Are you Eeyore or are you, Christopher Robin? Life is filled with the ups and downs, the vicissitudes, right? The roller coaster. You're going to have yucky days, but that's okay. You can get through that yucky day knowing that this too shall pass. And it's not toxic positivity, listener. It really is a mindset hack to help you navigate the challenging landscape of being human. We have stuff thrown at us all day long that can just shift us into a downward spiral. It's what do we choose to hold on to versus letting something flow through us, and understanding that these experiences, some are there to serve us. They're going to give us deeper clarity of what we do want in life and what we don't want in life.
And for those who might be saying, ooh, this sounds a little Pollyannish, I would say, no, this is what real empowerment looks like. Right. This is you choosing to look bigger and to look beyond. So I would say that.
I wanted to talk about acceptance. So this is like the biggest thing that we have to do, the biggest challenge that we have, which is accepting the circumstance. I'm not talking about settling. I'm talking about acceptance and with some kind of grace in your life and understanding, because if we're sitting there fighting over something that's happened, whether it's to us because our body is going down the tubes here, or it's something else, acceptance is that first step so that we can then move forward into the mindset and the right positivity. And Robin, that a lot of times can be proved by science. When you look at that frontal lobe of our brains and let it go to work for you, which is looking out going, it's going to be a great day. It is a great day. Good things are happening for me, not to me. You're not a victim in life. Your brain starts looking around going, okay, well, what are those good things? And even the yucky things that happen, you're seeing how they're serving you. What are your thoughts on that, Robin?
Yeah. So what I would say is, so acceptance doesn't mean that you can be a little slovenly and a little lax and it's okay because I'm accepting it. It just means that you recognize that there's still work to be done, and we are a little older, so things are a little tough. I think about on a physical level. So I am a very committed ballroom dancer. When I was in my 20s and 30s, you could show me a combination once and I would have it. Now I am so humbled because my theater dancing coach, we were working on a new dance for a senior citizen show last month, and it took me, a good week to learn the routine, and I would learn it, and then I'd come in and I would have forgotten it. And he kind of looked at me being younger, being like, you had just learned it when you left. But I just forgave myself now. It doesn't mean that I just accepted, okay, that's it. No, it means that I have to learn something doubly more than I did in the 30s.
Right.
So I have work to do. And, I think the same emotionally. There's nobody who will call you, make you work towards your best self than your children, right? Your adult children. And one of mine will kind of say, you messed that up because you're moving too fast. You're doing too many things. And, again, it's not just accepting, oh, I'm older. That's going to happen. It's, you are kind of right. And I really didn't want to hear that, but I need to slow down because I can't multitask as well as I used to.
Oh my gosh. And that recall capability, dang, right? I remember several years ago, I stopped doing video because I couldn't find the words that I had just locked into my brain. Where did they go? And so I told everybody, look, if you see me reading the script, get over it. I am loving this conversation, something fierce. Any last thoughts you want listeners to know so that they can have a wonderful experience, an empowered aging experience?
I would say give yourself the gift of time to sit quietly, sit in stillness, get to know yourself. And again, we go back to the beginning of the conversation. Think about what is most important to you. Why were you put on this earth at this point in time? What are you made to be? It's a really fun exercise, and then work from there.
Yes. And you can pull on threads and go, what was I thinking? I thought I loved that, but I love that as a hobby, not as a vocation, right?
Right.
It's finding those ways to fuel your passion, fuel your purpose, and perhaps fuel your pocketbook too, which would be delicious.
Yeah.
Oh, Robin, thank you for joining me for this impactful and meaningful conversation. I just love your view of the world and how you are serving the world, how you are a channel for God's love going out into the world. It's so fabulous. How can folks follow you and connect with you?
So they can find me on Instagram, as I mentioned, at Robin Kencel, and they can find me on my website, www.robinkencel.com. I've got a lot of writings and thoughts, and you can see some of my past videos.
Which are a lot of fun, especially when you're dancing.
Thank you.
So great. Listener, as you listen to Robin's story and her beautiful advice, I invite you to pause and reflect on your own life, the experiences, the pivots, the passions that brought you to where you are today. Aging with purpose doesn't require a grand reinvention, unless that's what you want. It begins with curiosity, self-trust, and the willingness to claim what still matters to you. No matter your age, it's never too late to deepen your relationships, learn something new, or step more fully into who you are becoming. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If this conversation resonated with you, I invite you to share it with a friend who might need to hear it right now. I know Robin's words will lift up anyone you share this with. And as always, thank you for being part of this growing pro-aging community. Until next time, I'm wishing you a delicious day everywhere you glow. Cheers from Boston, and thank you, Robin.
Most welcome. That was a wonderful conversation.
Listeners, I'm so grateful you carved out time to tune in and grab the gems from this delicious conversation. Be sure to hop on over to Don't Be Caged by Your Age on LinkedIn or Instagram to share your thoughts about ageism and unretirement. Because in this space, your age doesn't define you, it refines you. If you are inspired by a story you hear, it would mean the world to me if you would subscribe, share, rate, and review the podcast. To receive an alert whenever a new show is posted, please join the Don't Be Caged by Your Age newsletter. Every month, you'll receive links to the podcast and helpful resources for creating possibilities for your unretirement days. Thank you for tuning in. I am so excited to hear how you found ways to thrive after 65. Waving from Boston, cheers.